for us to go live here.
Do we need to send that link down to Tulsa too?
Yeah, we'll get it to everybody. So we are live right now.
We're live. All right. Great.
You guys talk for a second here while I get the link set up and get everybody sent out so you can kind of just like chitter chatter and then we'll get started.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us this morning, Chris.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here.
Yes, definitely. Let's just start out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how big your team is, your numbers, volume, and what you plan on doing.
Sure. So let's see. Chris Spiecher from the Spiecher Group, Remax we're actually in Olney, Maryland. Nobody knows where that is. So that's actually midway between Baltimore and Washington. I got into the business with my wife in 2010. I have a corporate marketing background with high-tech companies, Microsoft, Comcast, and not a high-tech company, Black & Decker, before I joined my wife. So in 2010, we did a whopping 6 transactions. It was a great beginning to the team. But this year, we are on track to do, if everything goes as planned for the next couple of months, we'll do about 135 deals. So we've gone from a team of just 2 to a team of 15. We have now, as of yesterday, 2 listing agents. We have 6 buyer's agents. We have 2 full-time client care managers. We have 2 full-time transaction coordinators and an executive/personal assistant. So I think that probably equals 15. If not, my math might be a little off. I also, as a disclaimer, I need to put this on, I sit on the agent advisory board at Zillow. I'm also Tom Ferry's internet marketing advisor, so I coach Tom's coaches on internet marketing techniques and internet marketing technologies that are out. And I also do a monthly white paper for him. I speak at some of his conferences. And that's about it in a nutshell. Our goal, we're actually, as soon as this call ends, I'm heading over to an off-site today where we're going to do our 2015 business planning with the team. And right now it looks like our goal next year will be in the neighborhood of 250 transactions, 100 on the list side and 150 on the buy side.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's some big goals and everything. I'm sure you probably, I know you just were at the Zillow conference last week, and I'm sure a lot of those goals are coming from that conference. And ideas. And after going to the Zillow conference last week, what are some of the ideas that you're looking to implement for next year to hit those goals from that conference?
Well, so it was a great conference. I spoke on a panel with a few other agents about team building and using Zillow to help build a team. It looks like right now this year about 50% of our transactions will come directly from Zillow. But in terms of takeaways, it was, for me, there weren't a lot of takeaways just because of my role on the advisory board and how we've built the team, working very closely with Tom Ferry and his organization. But some of the big takeaways, I think, in general for everybody, and I've talked about it before, if anybody's ever seen me, is speed to lead. My client care team has a service level agreement of 2 minutes to respond to every internet lead that comes in. And then it's providing a unique value proposition, a unique selling proposition. You can figure out what you want to call it, but providing an item of value that the lead can't readily find available online. Because if you can prove your value to them, they'll stick with you. And then from Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, it's relentless consistency in our follow-up. So we don't have anybody that comes to us that we won't drip for at least 24 months or try to stay in contact for 24 months. It's actually to the point now that part of our 2015 business plan is bringing in a full-time telemarketing crew. With our relationship with Boomtown over the past several years and the internet marketing that we do, we probably have about 13 to 15,000 people in our buyer database right now. So I'm bringing in 2 full-time telemarketers to simply do outbound calling. But specific to the conference, it's speed to lead, it's providing a unique selling proposition, and it's relentless follow-up over a long period of time. What I found interesting in the conference actually was their founder, Rich Barton, gave his keynote the last day, and the theme of his keynote was actually revolution. And for those of you that don't know Rich Barton, he started a little company called Expedia. He started a little company called Netflix. Then he started Zillow. So he's got a huge vision of where he wants to take Zillow, and their vision is to be the global marketplace for all things real estate related. And what they stressed were two things. One, the agent will always be in the middle of the real estate transaction itself, and B, they never want to become an MLS. So they're positioning themselves for enormous growth. They're in the right place. They're now generating more than 90 million unique users every month, or visitors every month. They now supply the second largest real estate portal in China with U.S. properties. And even prior to their acquisition of Trulia, which should go through in the first quarter of next year, they now account for more than 50% of all real estate traffic online. So the takeaway for me, and we made the bet a long time ago, was Zillow's the right bet.
Right.
You know, Chris, I think one of the fascinating things is there's always a conversation in the industry about where is Zillow and where is their, ultimate place in this market, and how they're relating to the agents and brokers. I heard, and I think this is correct, that one of the things that he made the comment at the conference is that he really feels a strong connection to RE/MAX and the RE/MAX agent. And did you feel that as well?
Yeah, I did, and I think that, so Spencer spent a fair amount of time with Dave Liniger over the past several months, especially their post acquisition announcement of Trulia, and he was very clear that the agents will always remain in the middle of the transaction, that their job is to connect agents and buyers and sellers through their website, and he does have an affinity for RE/MAX because of his relationship with Dave Liniger, and I think that I don't want to put words in his mouth. I spent a fair amount of time with Spencer at dinner one night, but he does understand that RE/MAX agents have more clout in the marketplace. So he doesn't want to do anything to rock that boat, and he made it very clear. They actually played a clip of him and Dave Liniger on stage, talking about the RE/MAX relationship and talking about the importance of keeping the realtors in the middle of the transaction.
Well, he knows what we know.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you is, because you mentioned it a couple of times that you've got members of your team, the hardest thing an agent always identifies with is that they get the leads, but then they know that they don't follow up with them. And you mentioned the fact that you drip for 24 months, which I think is a key piece, is that these buyers could be very far out. But one of the questions I want to ask you is that as more leads continue to come, it's not necessarily proportional to we're not seeing a dramatic increase in house sales, but we are seeing a dramatic increase in online leads, which means more management sometimes for the same sales. However, there's that opportunity for the person who can capture those leads to generate the sales versus someone else. So when you've got that team, is it one person? Is it two people? What's the process of following up, from start to finish? Can you maybe walk us through a lead?
Yeah, sure. And I think that any good business, it's all about making sure that your pipeline is full and that you've got a long-term plan to service that pipeline. So when our leads come in, as it stands today, when a lead comes in, whether it's by text, chat, phone, email, Zillow, Boomtown, it doesn't matter. It goes directly to my client care team. My client care team will respond to that lead within 2 minutes, and they do what we call a pre-qualification discussion. So, are you currently working with an agent? When do you want to transact? Have you been pre-qualified, or are you paying cash? And I think there's one more question, but those are the big three. We want to gauge their seriousness of where they are in the process. Based on that, one of two things happens. Either the client care team keeps them in their queue to do outbound follow-up on a regular basis, or they get handed off to a buyer's agent or a listing agent. It's then up to the buyer's agent and listing agent at that point to kind of take that relationship to the next step and the next level, and they are then responsible for keeping in touch. If we cannot get a hold of that lead when they come in, my team follows a 10-day follow-up plan, which includes calls, texts, and emails over a 10-day period in order to have that conversation. Our end goal is to have a conversation. And then when it gets handed off, our end goal is to get the appointment, because it then turns into a mathematical equation. How many leads equals how many appointments equals how many contracts, ratifications. You go all the way down, and then it becomes very easy to do our goals for next year. If I can tell you, if you want to do 50 deals as a buyer's agent, I can tell you exactly how many contracts you need to write, how many appointments you need to go on, how many leads you need. So that's kind of the process. Client care gets it. They hand it off to a buyer's or listing agent, or they keep it in their queue for 10 days. What our challenge is now is that the number of leads that we're generating, we're running probably 200 to 300 a week right now, is that once that 10-day follow-up stops, they then go into just the regular drip queue, and we just hit them with emails because we have so many leads that are coming in that I think we're losing a lot of those leads because there's no personal touch. Hence bringing in the telemarketing crew going into January to simply do outbound every day. And it's going to be old school traditional telemarketing, headset, auto dialer, 50 calls an hour, just banging away at our queue to make sure that we're making a personal touch on a regular basis with them.
That's fantastic.
Hey, I want to stop for like a quick, editor producer note of what Chris said about how many leads makes how many listings makes how many sales. It sounds familiar, like our Spark training last week. So agents note that. Okay, sorry.
Well, no, that's exactly where I was going with that. Is back to your conversion rate of those leads, and obviously you're tracking all this pretty good. What kind of conversion rate are we getting out of these leads right now?
Well, so we're in the process of running our year-end numbers now, and I think it's very easy to say the conversion rate, if we didn't have the client care model, the conversion rate from a raw lead that comes in, if I just handed them off to a buyer's agent, should probably sit somewhere between 2 and 4%. A really good converter can do between 4 and 8%. I haven't 10% in a long, long time, but so for us with that client care team, in general, the goal is for them to hand off, pre-qualify and hand off around 10%, because we give them some leeway on who they're handing off. If there's a question, I'd actually rather have them go to a buyer's agent to form that relationship. And then of those leads that are handed off to the buyer's agent, our expectation, and again, we're still running our numbers for the year, would be somewhere between 30 and 50% of those, because I've got the client care team doing the pre-qualification process. So of those leads that are coming in, my buyer's agents who are on a shift, so I've got, for instance, one buyer's agent that's on a shift all day today. That's how they've decided to do it. We've tried 3 or 4 different models. They've come to the conclusion that they want on days and off days. So that buyer's agent who's on today could get anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 leads on a really, really good day. So if their plan is to convert 30 to 50%, I would expect that they'd write contracts on 3 to 5 of those deals that come in if they get 10. One of the big challenges that we've found, and we have a phone system in place that helps us with it, is I call it the continuity of the handoff. So if a lead comes in and goes directly to a buyer's agent, they form that relationship. They set the appointment. It's easier for them to just say, hey, let's meet at the house, let's rock and roll, let's meet for coffee, let's do this. When I put my client care team in place, the client care team can go through the pre-qualification process, but if that handoff requires a callback or something like that, I feel like the appointment is getting lost. So we have a phone system in place that actually does a warm handoff. So client care team says, listen, Tracy's on shift today, or she doesn't say on shift, but Tracy's the right buyer's agent for you. I'm going to transfer you to her right now. She puts the client on hold. She actually calls Tracy and says, Tracy, I've got Joe Smith on the line. He's looking for a single family home in this area, this price range, family, 2 kids. I'm going to transfer him now. Makes the live transfer, and Tracy says, hi, Joe, Aileen just gave me all of your information. Let's set up an appointment to go look at a house. So that continuity is critical in making sure that you're successful, because as you guys just said, all of this, it's simple, but it's hard. It's all a mathematical equation. Phone calls and appointments lead to contracts, contracts lead to ratifications, ratifications lead to closings. And as long as you know what those ratios are and what those numbers are, you know what your 2015 business plan looks like.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. So one of the big questions is, how do you compensate the team?
So on our team, let's see, I don't want to. We have a very generous split with our broker because of the volume that we do, but that's confidential. What we compensate is my buyer agent team. Well, every agent on the team, whether you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, I'm on a 60-40 split. So I keep 60, I give out 40. My client care team gets 10% of the gross commission. That way I'm never less than a 50-50 on the split. And then my transaction coordinators are compensated on a per transaction basis. And that, it would wildly vary by market, based on home prices and all that kind of stuff, and also what their roles are. So my transaction coordinator that works on the listing side, fills up my listing agent's queues on who to call. She negotiates home inspections. She does all of the client communication from the time the house goes on the market, the showing feedback and all that stuff. She calls once a week. She orders a sign. She does the photography. She does the brochures. So we compensate her at $1,000 a transaction, but she's also doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to contract negotiations for home inspections. On the buyer agent side, the transaction coordinator will get $275 a deal because it's much less involved when it comes to that side of the business, and she's doing a higher volume.
Okay.
Great.
You mentioned that you're also, Tom Ferry is one of your partners. Are you in the Breakthrough by Design coaching program, or what is your relationship with Tom?
So, yeah. So we started, my wife had been in coaching. So my wife's been in the business 24 years. And she had been in Buffini coaching, and I think that coaching ran its course. And one of Tom's coaches, Debbie Holloway, came to our market 3 years ago, and gave a presentation on Tom Ferry coaching. And while we were in the meeting, I was new to the business, so I didn't even know what real estate coaching was. My wife leaned over and said to me, "Listen, if I got back into coaching, it would be with this organization, but I don't want to just go get any coach because, I want somebody who's amazing." And when Debbie was on stage, she goes, "If somebody like Debbie would coach me, I'd get back into coaching." But she would never coach anybody because at that point she was Tom's head coach, and she was doing a lot of traveling. So after the meeting, I called Debbie and I said, "I want to get on your roster tomorrow." And she said, "I'm not taking on any clients." And I said, "It doesn't matter to me. We want to get on your roster. We're going to kick ass. We're going to grow this team, and we want you as the coach." So she got us on the roster. That was actually 3 years ago this month. And she's helped us get from point A to point B. And Tom and I share a very like mindset when it comes to business, when it comes to just general team growth, when it comes to how we kind of operate our lives. And I've become a very good friend of Tom's. And Tom and I got together at the end of last year and said, I said to him, "How can I help you? How can I help you in your business?" So we created this role with him as an internet marketing advisor where I coach the coaches. And yes, all of my agents, every single one of them has access to and takes Breakthrough by Design. We were part of his elite coaching program, which is once a week coaching with Debbie. And again, Tom and I spend a lot of one-on-one time together, so it really helps me run the business because I don't work with clients. I have no desire to work with clients. I run the business. But we were Tom's first client in his new Coach Plus program, Coaching Plus, where actually everybody on the team has coaching. So my wife and I have coaching with Debbie. All of our buyers agents are in coaching. All of our client care team is in coaching, and all of our admins are in coaching. So the entire team is in coaching. We're already seeing the fruits of that. We've only been doing it about 2 months or so, and our admins are taking more control. Our transaction coordinators are taking more control. Our buyers agents are tracking, using daily action checklists. They're tracking their numbers. It's things that we've been preaching to everybody for months and months. But once they hear, it's like anything. Once you hear it from somebody else, it makes more sense. So we're not only Breakthrough by Design, and I guarantee if my wife was in here, she could actually recite the entire objection handling CD that's in Breakthrough by Design. She listens to it in her car every day. She actually says she when she's in a listing appointment, she'll actually hear Tom come out of her mouth, and it just shocks her because she's listened to the CV so many times. So every one of us is in coaching. Every one of us has listened to Breakthrough by Design. Every one of us gets on all the conference calls that Tom has. We watch the videos. I liken it to having a personal trainer. In order to really get good at the gym and have someone hold you accountable, you need somebody to get you in there. It's the same with coaching. One of the big things that Tom and Debbie do with us is hold us accountable to our business plan and making sure we execute. So when I first started, I tried, let me be clear, I tried Trulia, Realtor.com, and Zillow. We found one that worked, and we went deep with it. We looked at different coaching organizations, or I guess my wife looked at them, said Tom Ferry's the one. We went deep with Tom Ferry. When the team really started to expand, I looked at Market Leader, I looked at a couple other systems, and looked at Boomtown, and flew down there and talked to those guys and looked at their operation, and we decided to go deep with them. So, we've made our long-term strategic bets on Tom Ferry, Zillow, and Boomtown, and from our numbers, I think it's paying off.
Great.
So with Boomtown, Chris, are you using that? Are you using Boomtown to track all of your business management, or are you using Top Producer, or what systems do you purchase, use, and use effectively?
Sure. So the very first thing that I did when I joined the team is I got rid of Top Producer. I just thought it was too bulky. There was just too much to it. It wasn't very intuitive. It might be now. I don't know. But we run our entire business off of Boomtown. From top to bottom, everything is run in Boomtown. Boomtown does have some holes. We have a transaction management system that we use on the buyer side to keep track of contingency dates and things like that. But Boomtown is our entire CRM. So when the agents need to set to-dos and calls and follow-ups and all of that, everything lives in the Boomtown system. All of my leads, no matter where they come from, automatically dump into the Boomtown system, and that's how we manage all the lead flows. Everything comes directly into Boomtown. And Boomtown, it's very cool that one of their enhancements they're making this year, and we're beta testing it for them right now, is you can actually text directly from the system. Everybody knows that the open rates of text are so much higher now than emails, but you can actually go right into the Boomtown system, pull up your lead, type in a text message, and send it directly from Boomtown. And it'll come back to your phone. It'll dump in the history. So it's very cool. So yeah, all of our business is run from a lead generation, kind of lead management up until the time that the contract is written. Everything's in Boomtown.
Let's talk, Chris. Obviously, these are big numbers and all your leads coming in and from Boomtown and Zillow and everything. Let's talk. Would you mind sharing us how much you spend a month on these sites, and what how many leads are coming in? And you don't have to if you don't want to, but as far as more as the number of leads and how they actually get there.
Sure. I can probably pull up real time as we're talking. So if I'm not looking in the screen, I apologize, but I'll actually pull up my Boomtown system now to tell you exactly how many it is. So I will tell you that I'm not 100% comfortable talking about how much I spend with Zillow for no other reason than it's a big number and it scares a lot of people. What I can tell you is that I have more than 40 zip codes in Zillow, so I think people probably understand that spend is significant.
That was my question, was going to be those zip codes, because I know we talked a little bit about that last week. So
yeah, so it's significant. And if I'm looking, I kind of give rough stats. I mean, Google AdWords last month, I got about 200 leads that came in from Google AdWords. My spend with Google AdWords last month was $3,000 a month. My Zillow leads that came in, again, was pushing 700 or 800. But again, I'm across 44 zip codes. And then I've got a lot of other direct traffic. I do a lot of Facebook advertising. I've got a couple other websites that feed in to my system. The Boomtown system is not inexpensive. It's not for everybody. The Boomtown system runs me. The system, the licensing fee for Boomtown is $1,500. I take advantage of their inbound marketing services, which they do all of my AdWords. They do all of my press releases. They get me press placement. They do my long-term SEO. They do a lot of stuff for me. That's $1,500 a month, and then I'm at $3,000 for Google AdWords. So my spend's significant. I mean, any given month, depending on what I do with AdWords, I could go up or down in spend and things like that.
Right.
It's not atypical for me to have a marketing spend of $20,000 to $30,000 a month. But given I see Jamie's asking some questions. Given our average price point of $410 on the buy side and a little bit higher on the listing side, and the fact that we get 3.5% commission on the listing side, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about commissions, but I did. The ROI is definitely there, and we have a transaction fee of $345 that we pass through to our clients. So for us, it's definitely worth it, and we generate a ton of leads. And one of the differences between my wife and I when we got started was that and she's come around now, and it's wonderful, is that I've got a long-term vision for what we're trying to build. So I understand that the excessive spend right now, still having a very good ROI, is laying the foundation for us for the long term. We're only in this, well, I'm only in this, and she agrees, is we had a 10-year plan. We're 2 years into the 10-year plan. We're right on track for it, and at the end of 10 years, we'll no longer be involved in selling real estate. My goal is to be done when I'm 50. I'll move on to something else, whether it's working with technology companies or owning a technology company or maybe getting in deeper with Tom or whatever the case may be. But this portion of the business and the buying and selling of real estate on a daily basis is a 10-year plan. And the foundation that we lay is the most critical part of that.
Chris, out of curiosity, at the end of 10 years, do you plan on selling your business?
Yes, that's exactly. Well, so I say yes, but I don't know. Is it selling the business straight out? Is it licensing the business and putting having somebody use our name? Is it putting a VP of sales or VP of operations in place? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is yet. We probably start. Well, I know we need to start figuring out what that looks like because we won't be based in Maryland. The plan is to split our time between Southern California and Hawaii, 6 months and 6 months. And we're already doing some things to help do that. Right now, my client care team actually handles leads for 2 or 3 other clients around the country, just because they don't have the expertise in the hiring. So I've got an outside client care team that also works with us that handles leads in Toronto and Southern California and some other places. So
are those places included in your 40 zip codes? Elizabeth and I were talking about this last night.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, my 40 zip codes are strictly my markets.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I mean, and what I'm very very cognizant of and very clear on is whatever we're building, I'm building that I can run it remotely. Nothing is based in the office. Nothing is. I don't want to have to be on site to run anything.
Worth. The virtual world.
Exactly. That's what it is. I mean, I've tried the virtual assistants in the Philippines. One of my client care managers was based in Hawaii. I'm in talks with a client care manager now based outside of the San Francisco Bay Area. As long as they're good people, I can train them to do anything. It doesn't really matter. Though the time zone in Hawaii got a little old for my person out there, and I get it. She was getting up at 3 in the morning to answer calls, and that stinks.
Yeah. That's great.
We talked a lot about the online marketing. Is there offline marketing, old school marketing? Traditional mailing. What do you do that to keep in touch with your client base?
Amen. I mean, you can't give up the tried and true. So from telemarketing to geographic farming to postcards around, I'll say just listed, just sold, but that's not what we title them. I think those are horrible taglines. But sending out the just listed and just sold pieces.
What do you title them?
So for just listed, maybe first time on the market in 10 years, or has never been for sale before, or I've got a list of headlines that we use, and we go very traditional. I mean, headline, call to action, social proof, and all the stuff that goes into traditional marketing goes into all of our postcards. I've got they're not in here. I mean, I've got about 30 postcards that we designed that's specific to us, specific to our brand, we simply work with our designer. They drop in pictures and some additional comments, and they send them out. But yeah, we do all the traditional stuff, and I just got 3,000 pieces in the mail for an expired campaign. So the expired, we have a very targeted list of expireds that we hit, and they get a 4-page brochure after we're sure they're not relisted, and then they go on a 9-week postcard campaign. So we do 10 weeks of follow-up for expireds. So yeah, we do a lot of the traditional stuff too. We don't do as many open houses as I would like to see, but in our market right now, they're just not they're not great. We do client appreciation stuff. We're actually in, I think, for mid-November, we're inviting all of our clients and everybody to the office here, and we'll be giving out pumpkin pies to everybody so they don't have to bake a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. So we do the old school stuff too. We're, our past clients, sphere, mailings, yeah, we do it all. You can't do one without the other. There are agents that can do that. I mean, I was on a panel in Vegas at the Zillow conference with a guy who runs AK Real Estate here in Washington, D.C. He spends more than $100,000 a month strictly on Zillow advertising, and he's built his entire brokerage and entire brand strictly on Zillow advertising. He has 30 agents. That's all they do. So it's possible, but it's not what we do. I don't want 30 agents. I want 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 really highly skilled, great agents where we all make a lot of money and have a lot of fun.
Very good. Hey, Chris, we've got a question from one of our agents, Jennifer Dick. What happens when you get too many leads in the pipeline? How do you declutter and resort?
Yeah, so it's a lot of work up front. You need to make sure that they're categorized correctly. Once they're categorized correctly, we use long-term drip campaigns, so we automate the follow-up. Without some sort of automation, I think it's impossible. Once you get to certain numbers, it's impossible to follow up effectively. If you needed to actually go in and clean it up and do a once-over, it's a tedious task, and I did it. I've done it a couple times where I had to go into the databases that we didn't maintain and keep cleaned up. It was a big Excel spreadsheet, and going through and assigning everything we needed to assign, and there could have been 2,000 or 3,000 rows of people, and it just took the time to do it because a good way to look at it is every one of those rows represents a possible transaction, and if my average commission runs, say $10,000 to $15,000, I'll spend a couple of days cleaning that up, knowing that I'm going to get transactions out of cleaning up that database. So we also use Contactually. Contactually is a great way to get your database cleaned up. It uploads everything. You can assign buckets to them and rock and roll that way. But yeah, the database is critical because at the very core of your business, if I were to go sell this business in 8 years, the only thing that somebody's buying is an organized database. That's it. If I don't have an organized database and I can't assign a dollar value to those individuals that are in that database and prove that I've kept in touch with them and that they're valuable, I have nothing to sell.
Yeah, that makes sense. For sure.
Chris, what keeps you up at night when you're thinking about next year, and what's on your mind and spinning that you're trying to work on and constantly be better at?
The thing that makes us, I think, very good at a team is also the thing that keeps me up at night is the constant changing of how we run our business and how quickly we need to pivot to stay ahead of the curve, and what those changes look like, whether it's from the personnel that we have or the business flows or who we need to bring in, or what does that mean for the team, and how are we going to do it, how are we going to pay for it. I'm not afraid to execute and pivot when needed. I mean, we literally will change how we do business, every 6 months or so. And this business is changing so rapidly that some of those changes aren't easy. And if I'm not nimble enough to right the ship in a fairly quick manner, we'll get old quickly. I mean, once we do our business plan, that business plan actually stays with us. I mean, I look at it every day. I look at our numbers. I have a management report that my team fills out. I look at it every single Friday. So I kind of have my finger on the pulse of the business, and I know that if we have to move one way or another, I'm I'm not afraid to do that, and change is never easy. It rocks the boat a lot of the time, but it's a business, and I own the business, and we're going to pivot and move when we need to, even if it's not easy for people.
That's great. Fantastic. Well, this has been a great day. Appreciate everything you're telling us this morning. I know we're at 35 minutes on our thing. We try to keep them at 30, 40 minutes. What's and to finish up, Chris? What's the best thing you love about RE/MAX itself?
Best thing I love about RE/MAX itself, I think the autonomy and the freedom that we're given to run our business like we want with such a recognizable brand behind us. You know, a lot of the speaking that I do is about culture and branding and things like that. And you know, RE/MAX has a brand in the marketplace, and I don't know how important that is to the greater market. I mean, if you look at the NAR statistics, you know, it says brand is not necessarily important. But the flip side is you know, when I can put that RE/MAX logo on my marketing material, whether consciously or subconsciously, I think it means something. So you know, I think it's the power of the brand. So I think, yeah, full stop. I think that's it. I saw one of your agents asked thought on the new dot realtor. I had a nice back and forth with Nobu Hata from NAR about this. Just my personal feeling, I think it's a joke. I don't expect my CPA to have a .cpa domain. I don't expect my doctor to have a .doc domain. I think, and here's where I get in trouble, but you know, it's who I am. I don't think that the National Association of Realtors has done a good job at maintaining or proving the value of the realtor designation as a whole. When I look for a tax person, I look for a CPA. If you put 6 agents in a line and said half of them are realtors, half of them aren't, but they can all help you transact, you know, it'd be like a deer in the headlights if you said that to the public. They'd say, well, I thought they were all realtors. I don't know what that means. So yeah, the .realtor domain, we're not pursuing it.
So you didn't protect your name?
No.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, I don't see the point. As soon as the states and the local boards raise the bar as a barrier to entry into our business, and it's, you know, in Maryland it's harder to become a cosmetologist than it is a realtor. When that changes and they can prove the value of that brand, and my name's still available, maybe I'll get it.
Gotcha.
Chris, you've hit on something, of course, which is a passion of mine, and that is the fact that of the practitioners in the market, the majority of them are realtors, and one of the ways that we do need to do that is we need to advocate and protect on our industry to improve that entry level into the business. And you know, the reality is there isn't anybody else looking after it other than ourselves, and if we don't take the initiative to do it ourselves, nobody's going to do it for us, and it will continue to degrade our brand until someone else fills that void. So it is up to us to do that.
I agree. I totally agree. And you know, my interview process to get on my team, you know, they have to send in a cover letter, a resume. They have to do a disc profile. Once that's done, if they've done all that, I do an email interview with them. I go back and forth. Then they come in and meet with me. If they get through me, they actually meet with everybody that they'll be working with, transaction coordinators, client care team. If they get through all that, then they get to meet my wife, Peggy Lynn, who's actually the team leader. Once they get through that, it's a criminal and credit background check. If all that passes, then they meet with my broker, and then we all get together. If one person says no, they don't join my team. So, you know, that's what I do to get on my team, and I think it should be as tough or tougher to become an agent in general.
Well, what the good news is that I think the RE/MAX brand continues to say to the public that we are the best and we are professionals, and our statistics continue to support that. And we are so fortunate that you are one of the realtor members who is part and flies the RE/MAX flag. So we thank you for that, and thank you for all your information and knowledge.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm happy to share. If anyone has any questions for me after the after this is over, my Twitter's @SpikerGroup. Or you can look us up at spikergroup.com, and my email and my phone number and all that stuff are on there. I prefer email or text over phone calls. I don't, just like I don't like talking to clients on the phone, I don't necessarily like talking. I mean, I'm not a phone person, but I'm happy to help and like you said, to anything to help like-minded people and people in the brand get ahead. I'm happy to do it.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
We're very thankful to wrap up our RE/MAX Live session with Chris Spiecher. He's one of the top RE/MAX agents in the country. He's also a Zillow Premier agent and serves on the Zillow Advisory Board, and we are fortunate he spent his time with us today. So thank you, Chris, and we look forward to seeing you at further R4 events and also online.
Excellent. I can't wait. And keep an eye on R4. I actually I might be speaking there this year. It's,
Awesome.
Great.
It's getting
In Vegas.
There.
all right, you guys. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too.